Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Kaufman, a retired family doctor and a CLL patient myself, the co-founder, executive vice president, and chief medical officer of the nonprofit CLL Society. Chadi, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Brian. Always great to be with you. Chadi Nabhan. I'm a hematologist and a medical oncologist. My academic interest have been lymphoid malignancies over the years. I am currently Chief Medical Officer and Head of Strategy at Right, which is a generative artificial intelligence company bringing technology into clinical research and clinical trials to help patients. I'm also a podcaster. My podcast is Healthcare Unfiltered, and a book author. I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
And it's the author part that's very exciting. And we've talked before about your first book, Toxic Exposure. But today, I so enjoyed reading The Cancer Journey. And it's a book that's kind of encyclopedic. It goes from soup to nuts, everything related to cancer. But it tells it with all kinds of stories of your patients and makes it come alive and understand the reality of it. So give us just kind of a quick overview of the book. Not, and some of it is not going to apply to CLL patients, but CLL patients have a very high incidence of second primary cancers, second malignancies where this would be helpful, or they have family members or friends with cancer. So I think it's really worth them knowing about this book.
Yeah, thanks. This is truly a dream comes true because I've always wanted to simplify cancer as an entity, as a disease. Ultimately, CLL is a form of cancer, and there are so many other cancers out there. So, explaining cancer broadly as an entity, as a disease, in a very easy to understand language, very easy to read language, is something I've always wanted to do. And I go through the book into a couple of things that tip me into, okay, I'm going to spend 2 years of my life just writing this book, which is how long it took. I also wanted to reach broader audience. As you know, Brian, you deal with a lot of patients with CLL, and the level of knowledge varies. I mean, I think we can all agree that some folks may have so much in-depth understanding of CLL, others may not. But there's a common denominator between both, which is they want the information conveyed to them in a simplified fashion and not in a textbookish type of thing. And the way around this is simplifying language, but also use stories that people can relate with. And I've taken care of patients for over 20 years, and I brought in many of the stories that of patients, of families I cared about. Every single story that you read in the book is true. It happened. It resonated in my brain. It never left. Of course, there was no confidential information shared, but it was really important to bring this. When people read this, they can imagine themselves as a character in the story. Yeah, I can imagine myself in the exam room. I can imagine myself as the spouse. I can imagine myself as the patient. And that brings it to life and allows people to really read it. And as they read it, they're reading stories, but they're understanding a lot of science as well.
Yeah, it's very comprehensive, covers everything. The book is the Cancer Journey, and we'll put a link onto it on the website for people. Um, I'm very pleased that you spent a couple of years writing this. I think it'd be a tremendous resource for patients. Any final words you want to say about it?
No, I really wanted something that, well, I'll say a couple of things. There's a lot of information out there. I don't think people need me to tell them that they can go to Google and put in what is CLL or what is cancer. In fact, the first 3 lines of my first chapter was me sharing with readers. I did go to Google and I typed what is cancer, and I got back close to 1 billion results back. But what people want is, how do they separate signal from noise? How can I tell what I'm getting back is really accurate or not? What are the sources that I need? Um, I think people need sometimes someone to guide them, and occasionally that guide could be someone they've never met, such as a book writer, even though ultimately their physician is going to be their champion. So I view this book as a companion, as a resource, as something in addition of all of the resources that they have. It doesn't replace anything, any medical advice, none of that. But it's something out there. If somebody is curious about clinical trials, I think I explain them in a very easy way so people just know what clinical trials are. I want to take the dogma out because everybody who gets scared of clinical trials, there are reasons to be scared of. So that's probably all I'll say about the book. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that you give me this platform to share with your audience.
Dr. Nabhan, thank you so much for all you're doing for cancer patients. Thank you.
Thank you. You're doing a lot.